According to a study by Harvard Business, 80% of employee turnover is caused by poor hiring decisions. At first, these hiring mistakes might seem like small cracks in the foundation, but when it's time to scale, they turn into sinkholes, draining time and money and resources. In fact, a single bad hire can cost you at least 30% of their annual salary. For me, these were not the statistics. These were lessons learned the hard way. Running a 150-person SEO agency across 2 countries, I have seen firsthand how hiring mistakes can cost time, money, and reputation. From hiring the wrong people to not having a system in place, I've made every hiring mistake in the book until I stopped. Now, Webomaze has a foolproof hiring system that keeps it on autopilot. And here's how I fixed 7 biggest hiring mistakes and how you can avoid them too. So the first mistake I made at my company in our early days was that I hired people who were great at SEO but were not the right cultural fit. Gladly, I don't do that anymore because that backfired me big time. Now, when I bring someone on board, I make sure they have what we call Webomaze's DNA. And that DNA comes down to 4 things: commitment, loyalty, ethics, and integrity. If someone lacks even one of these, they are not getting hired, no matter how good they are at SEO. When a candidate walks into an interview, I'm not just looking for a resume filled with SEO wins. I want to know who they are at their core. I've always wanted to build a team that works toward the same purpose, so I keep these simple things in mind. Are they committed to do long haul? Do they have integrity? Will they stay loyal to our vision and not just chase the next big opportunity? These things matter more than knowing every Google algorithm update. That's why my interview process starts with cultural screening questions. If a person doesn't fit the Webomaze DNA, the conversation doesn't even move to SEO. And here's the thing, I don't need the perfect SEO genius. I already have a team of 150 people who live and breathe this stuff. If a candidate scores a 6 out of 10 in SEO, but aligns with our values, that's fine. Because if they have the DNA, they'll learn from the team, they'll grow, they'll adapt. And that's what's worth way more than hiring someone who can rank a page but has zero belief in our vision. However, I've learned from this mistake pretty quickly, unlike this next one, which took me way longer. So another mistake I made was hiring too slowly. In a service business, it's always the same question. Do we build the team first or wait for the projects to come in? I wasted a lot of our time by waiting for projects. And when we did get hired, I don't have a proper team to do the projects. But now I don't wait. I follow the 80-20 rule. That means 20% of my staff is always in training or ready to jump into new projects. So when a client comes in, we don't panic anymore. We get the work done and get things done. Now I know you are wondering about the cost of keeping people on standby. And yes, it does cost a lot of money, but waiting until the last minute to hire costs way more. I just think it's not worth taking the risk and losing a client that could get you thousands of dollars in business and potentially more. I've learned that business is about staying ready and not playing it safe. So I invest in our team before I need them. And that's why I've never caught off guard. But one thing that did surprise me was how some leading CEOs were directly involved in hiring. And that's when it hit me, why aren't we doing the same? When I first started my company, I completely outsourced the hiring. I thought it would save my time that I could spend doing something more productive. But instead of making things easier, it led to bad things. People who didn't understand the company culture and left the moment they got a better offer. This is where most CEOs go wrong. As their company grows, they step back from hiring, hand it off to HR, and move on to other things. CEOs in service-based businesses are not selling a product, they are selling people. And if people are the biggest asset of a business, why would the CEO stay out of the hiring process? I realized it, and that's why for me, hiring is about the future of my company. And my team is my company. If the wrong people comes in, client relationships, results, company culture, it all falls apart. That's why to this day, I personally take part in every single interview. I don't always look for strong resumes. I make sure the candidate has Webomaze's DNA. commitment, loyalty, ethics, and integrity. For me, technical skills do matter, but if someone isn't right cultural fit, they are not making it past the first round. If I need more insights, I'll refer that candidate to my SEO manager or sales manager or HR manager for a second round. But one thing I never do is take myself out of the process. Because here's the thing, when CEOs step back from hiring, they risk building a team that does not share their vision. And that's a mistake I refuse to make. And while ensuring that the candidate is a cultural fit, there's another hiring mistake that can damage your SEO agency, expecting one person to do all. In the early days of my company, we did a mistake that almost every growing business makes. We hired generalists instead of specialists. And let me tell you, that didn't work out very well. At first, it seemed like a great idea. Why hire multiple people when you can find one person to do all the jobs? Technical SEO, link building, content writing, outreach. It looked perfect on paper until I realized it wasn't. See, SEO isn't a one-size-fits-all job. A technical SEO expert isn't necessarily great at copywriting, and a link building specialist won't always know the ins and outs of on-page SEO. But for some reason, most agency founders believe they can hire a jack of all trades and expect them to do all well in all departments. That's what I did until I saw the results. I had people juggling multiple roles, and instead of excelling at one thing, they were averaging at everything. Projects took longer, quality suffered, and we found ourselves constantly redoing work. That's when I knew something had to change. Now I do things differently. I don't hire generalists, I need experts. When I hire a SEO, I look for one thing. What's the person exceptional at? Are they a technical SEO genius or a link building expert? Once I identify their specialty, I plug them into the right part of our team. That's why my company isn't just an SEO agency, it's an SEO specialist agency. My team is structured around individual expertise, not generalist roles. And here's the crazy part. Once I stopped expecting people to do everything, I started seeing real growth. Our link building became stronger, our technical SEO became sharper, and our content became better. But while hiring specialists changed our game, another mistake almost cost us our best people. One I didn't see coming until it was too late. Let me be honest, I didn't even think about diversity when I started my business. I focused on skills, experience, and getting results. But I quickly realized something was missing. My team looked the same, thought the same, and approached problems the same way. And while that might sound efficient, it's actually limited our creativity and ability to connect with different clients. And that's when I made a conscious decision to change things. I needed the right mix of people instead of having more people. Now my team in India consists of 150 plus employees from different backgrounds, cultures, and experiences. And let me tell you, the difference is night and day. Think about it. If everyone comes from the same background, they'll likely tackle problems the same way. But when you have a diverse mix, you get multiple angles, different viewpoints, and solutions you never would have thought of otherwise. Now I look at the bigger picture. What unique experiences does this person bring? How do they think differently from the rest of the team? What fresh perspective can they add? Because at the end of the day, diversity is a competitive advantage, not a box you need to check in. And I'm never making the mistake of pushing it under the rug again. But while fixing diversity angle made a massive impact, there was another issue I didn't catch early enough. Back then, I was scaling my company. I made a huge mistake. I didn't forecast sales properly. I focused so much on delivering results that I forgot to ask a crucial question. Where's the next project coming from? For a service-based businesses, growth is about predicting how much work you'll have in the pipeline. And I learned this lesson the hard way. At one point, I was taking on projects like crazy, hiring people left and right, and then suddenly the project slowed down. And guess what? I had a team that was ready to work, but not enough clients to keep them busy. That's when it hit me. We were not focusing sales. Here's the thing. You can't run an agency by assuming clients will always come in at the same pace. You need a system. You need to analyze trends, predict demand, and plan hiring accordingly. And if you can't hire in-house every single task, Start doing white labeling, because that's what a lot of big companies are doing. White labeling is when you outsource your work to another company that does the job under your brand name. Your client never knows someone else is doing the work. So basically, you got to take on more projects without increasing your fixed costs. That's exactly what we do and offer. So if you are scaling faster than you can hire, you can try our white label SEO services to handle overflow work. That way, you never have to say no to a client, and we keep your SEO fulfillment running very smoothly. And while I learned this mistake pretty fast, there was another mistake that took me longer to figure out. At my company, we initially thought we could do it all. And for a while, it seemed fine. Until I realized something critical. We were not building a business, we were just keeping ourselves busy. That's when I made a big decision. Hiring key people who could take my company to the next level I've always envisioned. So the first thing I did was hire a co-founder, an HR head, a sales head, and an SEO head. I hired a co-founder because I knew there's only so much that one person can do. I knew that a great co-founder can amplify everything. A co-founder can bring in a new perspective and challenge my ideas. So for me, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2, it equals 11. Once I had the co-founder, I thought we were sorted, but this is when we faced a major crisis and people started leaving my company. But I didn't panic, because I knew that even if everyone left today, we could rehire tomorrow if we have a strong HR foundation. I knew that without an HR head, we were just one resignation away from a possible collapse. So I got it sorted. Then I hired a sales head, because for years we relied on organic growth. The work spoke for itself and the referrals kept coming in. But even then, I knew that we were not actively driving revenue without a sales head. They bring in new clients, close bigger deals, and create a predictable revenue stream. Without them, you are just hoping clients to keep coming. And to be honest, you can't run a business on hope. Lastly, I hired an SEO head, a specialist in the field, and someone who knows his stuff and always does an exceptional job for my client. This is the reason my company actually drives results instead of just doing mediocre work. So, building a successful business isn't about working hard, it's about working smart. I learned these lessons after tons of mistakes, but every mistake brought me closer to success. Today, Webomaze is not just an SEO agency, we are a hub of specialists and experts who know exactly how to scale businesses. And if you are ready to rank your website and improve your SEO strategy, visit our website and let our experts do the hard stuff while you focus on hiring and marketing of your business. And hey, if you found this all helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because you don't want to miss my upcoming videos on business growth. Bye-bye.